welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I wanted to do a quick review of the Fallout board game because I'm obsessed with Fallout and I just want to talk about it, what I like about it, what I don't like about it, whether I recommend it or not, stuff like that. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is just the packaging in general. It's a really good box. It's not too big. I find a lot of board games, especially like long, more complicated ones like this, tend to have really big boxes for no real reason. And so yeah, I like how it's a little bit more like short and compact. As for the inside, however, there's absolutely no organizing at all. There's no slots for the cards or for the map or anything like that. It's basically, I mean, if you ever played or owned a Fantasy Flight game, it's basically just like very classic Fantasy Flight packaging where there's just one big trough and you just kind of throw everything into it, which is kind of annoying. I prefer the kind of boxes where there's specific little spots for the cards so they don't get all messed up like this. Like, you don't have to deal with this, especially since in this game you have to deal with sorting through the card library a lot, and it needs to be in like the right order for a lot of different things. So it can be quite annoying when you go to pull it out and it's all over the place. It came with a couple baggies for the pieces, but other than that, it's just like a giant mess. And speaking of the quest deck or card deck, it's also kind of hard to manage. Basically, these are just like the cards that tell you like what to do, what your different options are in different quests, and then what your rewards are in those quests. And basically, you do a lot of sorting through this deck. Like, you have to open it and go through it for the next stage in the quest, or if a new quest is started for a different reason, like it was triggered by a different action happening, you have to dig through it, and basically the best you can do is try to keep it in order, and so you can find it easier. I don't really know a great solution for this. It is like pretty much, I think, the best you can get when it comes to having like something physical. The only other thing that would be better is like a Rolodex maybe, but that'd be huge. Or if they had maybe like dividers in between like every 10th card, or maybe like every 10th card is like a slightly different color, so you can be like, okay, well, I need 78, and so I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and it's between this one and the next one, kind of thing. Just something to make it a little bit easier, because it can be a real pain in the neck trying to sort through that when you're trying to play the game. Next I'm going to talk about the different pieces of the game. So first we have the little character sheets, which I love these things. These are so cool. They, when you first get them, what's upside down? When you first get them, they come separated, and then you put them together, and then I'm not sure if this is really coming across like on a video, but there's like little holes for your special tokens as you earn them throughout the game. There's little slots for different, I believe they're called identities. So like you're vilified and you're well rested and stuff like that. They go into here. And then this is your health and rad bar. They're the same bar, but on opposite ends. So this is the radiation side and this is the health side. And if they ever occupy the same space or go past each other, then you die. So that's really cool how they managed to kind of make it very true to the game, especially like in Fallout 4 where it digs right into your health when you get radiation. And then there's also like an XP meter. So I really like this. It feels really cool and solid. It feels a lot more interesting than just having like one card that has like a starting stat. Like that's the one thing that I really like about this, is that a lot of board games, like even if you get to play as different characters or you get to play as different like people, like in this one you could play as like the ghoul or the super mutant or the wastelander or whatever. Normally that comes with like a preset build, and this does a little bit, but there's also like ways that you can change how your character is built. I also like this because it's as, you know, dynamic and unique as a pen and paper character sheet where you have to write down every single thing, but you can reuse it again. You don't have to worry about taking notes. It's just like a couple different tokens in different slots can mean a lot. So yeah, I think this is genius. As for the actual pieces of the game, we have the bottle caps, which I think are awesome. I'm so glad that they did this. So yeah, these are really cute. I love these. They're so adorable. I also really love the figurines that come with it, like the little models. They're super detailed. Like they're so well made. They're so amazing. I think I'll probably do some close-up shots and insert them in the video here so you can like really appreciate like how detailed they are. Like the super mutant has like all this armor with like chains on it, and it looks like just like the armor that they wear in the game, and the wastelander has like all its different bits of armor. and like the tape around the rifle, and yeah, it's just awesome. They're really cool. I've seen some, I haven't done it yet obviously, but I've seen some really cool like decoration and painting of these figurines, and it always looks so cool because they're such high quality figurines that you can do stuff like that. Everything else is just kind of like, it's fine. Like the enemy pieces are okay. I don't really like there's like different like stars and shield shaped pieces that you use for different quest related things in the game. They're a bit generic and confusing. I understand that it's a way to make it so that you can use the same pieces for different scenarios. Like if you're in the Commonwealth or in Far Harbor or whatever, like you can use the same pieces to refer to those different characters or factions or whatever. But it is kind of confusing trying to connect what the stars represent to what they, like, connect the stars to what they represent on the scenario card. But yeah, I understand that there's not much you can do about that without making a million more tokens and making this like $100 more. But yeah, it can get kind of confusing. And the quest token, the quest markers are also kind of confusing. We've messed them up several times. As for the map, it is really cool. So basically it consists of these like hexes, and there's a couple that are specific to the quest, to the scenario, sorry. So like here's Diamond City, so obviously you wouldn't have that if you're in Far Harbor, or you wouldn't have that if you're in Fallout 3. And then here's Megaton, which you wouldn't have in Fallout 4 or the DLC. So some of them are like that, but most of them are just kind of like generic spaces. So like this one doesn't have any sort of like specific location on it. It's just like an irradiated area. This one is just Hoffman Farm, so it's just like a farm. And basically what happens is when you start a scenario, it will tell you how to place the specific locations that you need in order for the scenario to work, but everything else is randomized. So it gives it a lot of replayability, where even if you play the exact same scenario, the exact same character, and you even have like the exact same objectives, it can still play a lot differently depending on how the map ends up being displayed. It could be a lot harder, it could be a lot easier, or it could be you need to take a lot more radiation or take a lot more turns to move because there's like difficult terrain. So yeah, definitely adds a lot more replayability than just like a static map, which I think is like a kind of a more popular thing in board games as we go on. Like Betrayal Has the Hills like that, Mansions of Madness is like that, Galaxy Trucker's kind of like that, like just like not having one set map that you have to reuse over and over makes the game a lot more replayable. As for the gameplay, I think that it is excellent. I have a lot of fun playing it. It feels exactly like playing the video game, like as much as you can make it feel like playing the video game. There's different quests, there's branching storylines, there's different, like you can take side with either faction, because every scenario has like 2 opposing factions, and you can choose which one you want to support in the conflict that's happening. And yeah, you can choose either one. There's no like one you have to stick with. I mean, the one complaint that I can see people having is that there's certain quests that always come up at certain times. They're like the beginning quests. Like most quests would come up randomly, like you go into a settlement and then when you do an action in that settlement, it might give you a quest. But a lot of them come up just like as you progress in the scenario, these different quests will activate. Which can get a bit repetitive, but honestly, I don't really see how that's different than playing the video game, because when you play the video game, there's certain story quests, and there's certain quests that like are in the same area on the map or whatever as those story quests, and so you would come across those quests over and over. It's not about doing different quests, it's about figuring out different ways to do that quest, and every quest has options that you can take, like different routes you can take, different ways you can handle the situation. So I still think it's cool. It's a good game in that sense, even though like I already know a lot of the beginning quests that you can get, and even some of the random ones, just because they just happen to come up a lot. I still think it's a good game because it's just like the video game. Like there's only a certain amount of replayability as long as you're willing to be imaginative, I guess. My 2 main problems with it are I don't like how items and armor, like weapons, stuff like that, are so hard to come by. They rarely come up in actions or in events. I don't think you ever get them from the main quest line. You can sometimes get them if you go to a settlement and you do a shop action, but you can only do a shop action if you do a regular action, and then that regular action rewards you with a shop action, and then even when you do that shop action, it's limited to how many times the card says. So if the card just says do shop one time, that means you can only buy or sell one thing from the shop. So it's really hard to get new stuff and better stuff. You're just kind of relying on your own two fists and whatever you're wearing kind of thing, which I don't really like, because in the Fallout video games, there's stuff everywhere. Like, you can loot random places and there'll just be stuff there. Or every time you, like, some enemies drop loot, but not all of them. And if you have certain weapons, you can lose that loot, or like if different things are going on, you can sometimes lose that loot. Anyways, basically I just wish that weapons and armor were easier to get, or more common to get at least. Also, kind of like under the same like side, like second point underneath that would be the combat is really kind of unbalanced. I really like what they did with it, like with the VATS dice, and how you have to hit certain parts, like you have to roll certain ways on the VATS dice. And I don't really know how a board game would do it in a more balanced way or in a less random way, because I mean that's kind of just how it is. Like, it's a board game, there's rolling dice involved, like that's just kind of what it's like. But it does seem very, very, very difficult. I'm pretty sure there's some enemies that you cannot fight without taking damage. Like, there's physically no way on the dice to hit them enough times to kill them, but not take any hits yourself. Which is kind of annoying, because like once you get to a certain point in the Fallout games, you know, if you have a sniper rifle, you can just kill things and not take any damage from them, because they don't even know you're there by the time they're killed. So that's kind of annoying, but like I said, I kind of understand how there's limitations to a board game that you kind of have to consider. I also realized that might also just be my bias, because I tend to play Fallout on easy or very easy mode, because I prefer to play it as an amazing badass that just kicks everyone's ass. I don't play it for the challenge or for the difficulty. I play it just to kind of have fun and experience the story. So maybe combat is more like that in the harder difficulties, and I'm just used to it being a lot easier. But that's just my take. I also don't like how win conditions work. So the way win conditions work is that there are victory cards. So everyone gets victory cards, and on those cards they have different conditions that you have to meet in order to earn even further victory points. For example, some of them are you get a victory point for every step, every step more successful the faction that you are siding with is more successful than the other faction. Or there's a couple ones that are a little bit more specific. So one of them is you get one more victory point if there's only one map tile unexplored, and you get 2 more victory points if the whole map is explored. There's one where like you get more points if you have drugs but you're not addicted to them. There's one where you get more points if you have all your special filled out. There's a bunch of different ones. And I don't really like that, because I think that, first of all, it makes it possible to win the game without doing the full scenario. Because not all of the victory cards are completely related to how the different factions are doing, as far as the scenario goes, you could, and you also end up with multiple of them. So if I had 3 of the ones that give you extra if you have special, and the one that gives you extra if you explore the whole map, I could theoretically win the game with enough victory points. I think it depends on how many you play with, but if I could win the game with enough victory points just before anything even happens in the main story. And that's just kind of annoying to me, because it's like, that's not when the video game ends. That's not when, you know, you stop playing the game. You don't stop when you level up to a certain point or whatever. You end when you finish the story. Like, it's supposed to be about the story. So yeah, I don't really like how that works. I think that it should be, even if they wanted to have that in place, have it be that you can't, because the thing is, right as it is now, you can just at any point in the game be like, oh, by the way, I have enough victory points, game's over, I win, which is kind of annoying. But if you had it just like, you could only, if at the end of the game you had that many victory points, and then everyone who does have that many victory points also wins. Basically, I'm just sour because I like cooperative board games, and this is like a 99.9% cooperative board game, but there are a lot of situations where some people win and some people don't win. There are situations where everyone wins and everyone loses, but there's also some like gray area in there that I don't really like. I wish it was 100% cooperative, but again, that's just my opinion. I was playing it with some people actually a couple weeks ago, and they were loving the fact that it was kind of competitive and you could kind of screw people over like that. So might just be me, but so yeah, that's all I have to say. I give it 2 thumbs up, and yeah, let me know what you guys think, Fallout fan or not, whether you played it, whether you haven't, what you think of it, why you haven't tried it, you know, anything like that I would love to talk about in the comments, especially if you're a Fallout fan who doesn't like it. I would like to know kind of why you don't like it, because I think it does a good job, like a good tribute to the original games, so I'd like to know why you don't think that is true. Also give this video a thumbs up if you like when I do stuff like this, if you want to get some more maybe game reviews, and subscribe if you haven't yet, and I'll see you in the next video. Later days.